The movie begins with two ex-convicts, Cole and Taylor, spying on a biker gang from a distance. Apparently, both have been intimidated by Vincent, a ruthless ringleader of the same gang who seeks to take over the Legion. Vincent sees Rodrigo, the current leader, as an obstacle to his plans, so he decided to use Cole as an instrument. He threatened to kill his 5-year-old daughter if he did not take care of eliminating Rodrigo. Meanwhile, inside the tavern, we meet Alonso, a high-ranking member within the gang. Noticing the absence of his boss, he asks Vincent if he knows anything, to which he replies that he will arrive later and that for now they should enjoy the drinks and the women. At that precise moment, Rodrigo appears in the tavern and Cole approaches close enough for his partner to riddle him. Upon hearing the shots, the bikers immediately rush out and open fire on the truck, seriously wounding both. Without wasting time, they return inside, arm themselves with high-caliber rifles, get on their motorcycles, and ride furiously in search of the murderers of their leader. Now we meet our protagonist, Jake Carter, a retired Marine sergeant who now works as a paramedic. Together with his partner Zoe, he goes to a crane accident where a woman remains trapped in her vehicle with her legs pinned. The crane is overloaded and the bricks threaten to collapse on her. The officers advise waiting for the firefighters, as getting closer is too risky. Despite the multiple warnings, the ex-military decides to take control of the situation. He gets a hydraulic jack and enters the restricted area. While trying to free her, he speaks calmly to her, giving her hope to prevent her from moving abruptly. Just when he manages to pull her out, the load collapses on the vehicle. Carter asks his companions to act immediately. The arteries in her legs have been destroyed, and the bleeding is uncontrollable. Despite his attempts to resuscitate her, the woman ends up dying. Zoe stops him and tells him there is nothing more they can do to save her. As they head to the hospital, Zoe reproaches him that he took too much risk, to which Jake replies that saving lives is his duty. She reminds him that the most important thing is to make it home alive at the end of each shift. She understands his military past and the teaching of never leaving anyone behind, but she warns him that there are thousands of people who depend on his help. At that moment, they receive a code 3 in the parking lot of an amusement park. A man has requested emergency for possible heart attack. Zoe comments that it is strange, since the park is closed until summer. Maybe it is a maintenance worker. As the entrance to the parking lot is barely 2 meters high, the paramedics decide to continue on foot. They search for several minutes, and Zoe insists that it is probably a joke, that they should return to the ambulance as soon as possible. The ex-sergeant asks her to be quiet. In the distance, an engine can be heard running. As they move forward, they discover the body of a man dead from a gunshot wound to the torso. It is Taylor, the same one who accompanied Cole in the murder of the gang leader. They continue checking the area and find Cole bleeding out on the ground. They take the weapon from him, and he begs them not to call the police. He confesses that he and his partner entered the wrong neighborhood. A gang blocked their way and shot them mercilessly. Zoe explains to him that in these cases they are obliged to notify the authorities. Since there is no signal in the parking lot, the ex-sergeant orders his partner to stop the bleeding. He will return to the ambulance to contact the police. When arriving at the entrance of the parking lot, Carter sees the biker gang and hides immediately. He manages to call emergency, but the signal cuts out. Aware that his partner's life is in danger, he hurries back and informs her of the situation. Together, they help Cole and load him into the truck. They advance through the different levels until they come across one of the bikers, who without a word pulls out a shotgun and fires at them. The ex-sergeant manages to dodge him and continues up to level 5, where they try to use the elevator, but the switches are off, so they decide to continue by the stairs. Meanwhile, the bikers split up and block all exits to prevent them from escaping. Once safe for a few minutes, Zoe checks on Cole and notices that his pulse is accelerating too much. She confesses to the veteran that she could not administer morphine because the equipment was left in the truck and that the situation is critical. They need to take him to a surgeon immediately. Carter demands explanations and Cole repeats the same version as before. The ex-sergeant confronts him. He knows he was carrying a machine gun. It is obvious they killed someone. He needs the truth to know what they are facing under pressure. Cole opens up and confesses that they killed the gang leader. He was forced to do it under threat of his family being killed. Meanwhile, the gang restores power to the parking lot and prepares to continue the search. Murphy proposes calling for support to finish the problem before nightfall, but Alonso rules it out. They are just two paramedics and an injured man. It is enough to find them. Then he adds that 10 blocks east there is a cell tower. They must block it to make sure they cannot call for help. When arriving at the tower, Deacon shoots the fuses with a shotgun. Meanwhile, in the parking lot, Alonzo shouts to the paramedics to hand over the man they are protecting. They must do it immediately, or they will kill them all. Zoe begins to get nervous, and her partner asks her to calm down, that he will find a way out. She insists that it is impossible to save Cole. He has been losing blood for more than an hour. He has probably lost 10% of his volume. He needs an urgent transfusion, and there is nothing they can do. The best thing would be to hand him over in order to survive. The ex-sergeant refuses. They must find a place to hide. He remembers that the last communication with Central was 40 minutes ago, and if they do not respond in 20, they will send a patrol to their last location. So he proposes hiding in the maintenance room. He will return to Cole's truck to recover the equipment. At the main entrance, Alonzo notices that Central is trying to contact the paramedics. If they do not report their situation in 15 minutes, the police will go to their location to check their status. Upon hearing this, he runs and orders Murphy to abandon her post. They must find them as soon as possible. Once at the truck, our protagonist is held at gunpoint by Murphy, who orders him to interlace his fingers behind his head. In an unexpected move, the ex-sergeant uses the defibrillator to knock her out with an electric shock. He tries to take the gun, but Murphy surprises him with a dagger and attacks him. The veteran dodges the blows, corners her against one of the pillars, and demands that she stop. However, she pulls out another knife and continues the attack, so the ex-sergeant ends up killing her accidentally, with no other choice. He picks up the gun and leaves with the equipment. When returning to the maintenance room, Jake finds Cole barely conscious. With a broken voice, he tells him that the gang took his partner. They were about to reach the room, when suddenly one of the bikers appeared. Zoe, without thinking, decided to distract him so he could escape, but the biker knocked her down with a blow to the head and took her away. The veteran contains his rage and assures him that he will go look for her, but before that he administers some morphine to ease the pain. Cole looks at him intently and apologizes for having dragged them into all this. He confesses that what he did was only to protect his 5-year-old daughter, although now it seems that he will not even be able to see her grow up. With effort, he takes a wrinkled photograph of his family out of his pocket, shows it proudly, and admits that it was the only thing he kept during his time in prison. He acknowledges that he made bad decisions, but insists that he is not a bad person. He had never even held a weapon before that night. The ex-sergeant listens to him in silence, then firmly tells him that he must resist, that he will do everything possible to keep him alive. Meanwhile, at the entrance of the parking lot, Deacon drags Zoe to where Alonzo is waiting. The ringleader pulls her up and, pointing his gun at her, orders her to speak on the radio. She must convince Central that everything is under control. With no other option, Zoe takes the radio and fakes serenity. She reports that they went to the place of the call, checked all levels, but found nothing, that it was probably a joke. When cutting communication, Alonzo shoots the radio to make sure they cannot use it again. Zoe, still breathing heavily, faces them with courage and warns them that they have messed with the wrong man. She reveals that her partner is not just a paramedic. He is a decorated ex-Marine sergeant, a man trained to kill, with firm and unbreakable codes, someone who will do the impossible to save anyone. Afterwards, the gang takes Zoe to level 1 and begins shouting to the veteran. They have his partner and will not hesitate to kill her if he does not obey their orders. Zoe warns her partner that the police will not come, that they forced her to communicate with Central. Alonzo takes advantage of the moment and gives an ultimatum. He must choose between the life of his co-worker or that of a stranger. He stresses that the lone wolf he is protecting killed one of their own, and that he must make an immediate decision. Upon hearing this, the ex-sergeant returns to Cole and asks him seriously if the gang managed to see his face. Cole, gasping, replies no. Then Jake raises his voice and shouts to the bikers that he will accept the exchange, that he is on the lower level and they can come down to get him. Without wasting time, he asks Cole for his jacket. He knows that from what they said, they think there is only one killer. With a plan in mind, he goes back to level 6 and drags Taylor's body, dresses him with Cole's jacket, places some bandages to accentuate the illusion, and turns on the defibrillator. Next, he breaks several nearby lamps strategically, plunging the area into shadows to hide among them. The bikers arrive at the scene and check the pulse of the body from his hiding place. Carter shouts to them that the man they were looking for bled out, that they already have what they wanted, and that now they must keep their word. For a moment, it seems the tension eases, but Alonzo responds with a bloody threat. He plans to kill them and cut them to pieces to feed his dogs. They made an unforgivable mistake by protecting a stranger. Unmoved, the ex-sergeant reloads the revolver he had taken from Murphy and fires a warning shot. Knowing that the revolver belongs to his partner, Deacon loses control, firing his shotgun blindly while shouting insults. Alonzo calms him, and in an attempt to keep the advantage, promises the veteran that they will honor the deal. They take a photo of Taylor's corpse to present it as proof, and pretending to leave, they decide to release Zoe. Carter comes out of hiding, breathing with relief, as for an instant it seemed that everything was over. But Alonzo, with a twisted smile, suddenly stops, points without hesitation, and shoots his partner point blank in the head. The shot echoes in the parking lot, and Zoe's body falls lifeless. The bikers get off their motorcycles and between laughter shout to the veteran that his fate is sealed. Jake responds immediately with gunfire to clear a path and manages to reach the stairs, moving quickly as if he were on the battlefield. Deacon, enraged, tries to chase him, but Alonzo stops him with a sharp order. Vincent is on his way. He will arrive in a few minutes. He tells him to cover the third level and returns to the parking lot entrance. There he meets Vincent, who congratulates him for having accomplished the mission. Alonzo, confident, shows him the photo and comments that the hitman died from blood loss, that everything is under control, but Vincent interrupts him furiously, pointing out that there were two men. Alonzo, confused, replies that he is mistaken. When they arrived at the parking lot, he only saw one. The paramedics were carrying him in their truck. Vincent confronts him angrily and reveals that he checked the security camera recordings. There were two men in the truck, one driving and the other shooting, which means the second one is still alive. Meanwhile, Deacon crosses paths with the veteran and fires his shotgun at him. Carter hides behind some vehicles and uses his last ammunition to avoid a direct hit. In a careless moment, he surprises the biker and strikes him hard in the face. Deacon responds with brutality, knocking him down several times, and to finish him off, grabs an axe and raises it above him. Just at that moment, Cole appears staggering and stabs a morphine syringe into his neck. Furious, the biker knocks him down and points his weapon to kill him, but Carter reacts at the last second and drives the axe into his back, killing him instantly. At that moment, Vincent presents himself to the veteran, shouting that now he is the leader of the gang and that his reinforcements are already on their way. They will search for him no matter what they have to risk to find him. Cole, with a weak voice, thanks Carter for everything he did and apologizes again for having dragged them into that hell. He asks him to escape while he still has a chance. He must leave him behind. His life is already sentenced. To his surprise, the veteran lifts him firmly and assures him that he will not leave him behind. He plans to take revenge for the death of his partner and will not allow them to kill him. Determined, he takes him to the 6th level, and when checking his vital signs, he realizes that Cole needs an urgent transfusion. Without thinking twice, he prepares the medical equipment and performs a combat transfusion with his own blood. It turns out the veteran is O positive, which allows him to connect his own blood to keep him alive. While carrying out the improvised transfusion, outside, the gang reinforcements arrive in the area and prepare with high-caliber rifles. After several minutes of tension, Cole regains consciousness with a jolt. Carter explains that he almost suffered a cardiac arrest from the blood loss, but he managed to stabilize him with a combat transfusion, something he learned in the Marines. Exhausted, the veteran asks what were really the motives for killing the gang leader. Cole confesses that in prison they accepted the protection of a group. When they got out, the man who offered protection collected the debt. They had to kill Rodrigo, the leader of the gang. They refused at first, but as a warning they attacked Taylor's brother and left him in a coma. Later they threatened to kill his family. With no way out, they were forced to obey the orders. With the aim of inspiring his men, Vincent shouts that they must avenge the death of their previous boss and that as their new leader, his revenge will be the first order. The bikers' shouts echo throughout the parking lot. The veteran rises with determination and prepares to turn on the elevator following Cole's instructions. In the end, he manages to start it, but the emergency brakes leave it stuck. So he decides to climb to the top of the cabin. At that moment, One of the bikers manages to open the door and attacks the veteran. Carter defends himself with his fists while the enemy tries to cut him with a machete. Unexpectedly, the biker pulls out a pistol and fires at him, but the veteran manages to deflect the weapon. In the middle of the struggle, Jake causes the gang member to shoot himself in the head with his own gun. Cole hands the shotgun to the veteran, who shoots the emergency brakes, finally making the elevator move toward the park. When Alonzo and his partner enter the park shooting at the chain of the entrance, Vincent informs them over the radio that they must kill them immediately, without giving them the chance to beg for their lives. Alonzo responds that before eliminating Cole, he needs to interrogate him to know where he comes from. They must know to which gang he belongs. Vincent cuts off any discussion. He already gave the order, and they must follow it. Following the veteran's trail, Alonzo realizes he has fallen into a trap. He tries to communicate with his partner to warn him, but at that moment Carter surprises him, connects a couple of heavy blows, and applies a hold that ends up breaking the biker's neck. He keeps his weapons and takes the radio to intimidate the rest of the gang. Despite the fact that they murdered his partner in cold blood, he will give them one last chance to save their lives. He has already eliminated 4 of them with his own hands. Now he has weapons, and unlike them, he has experience and military training. He warns them with a firm voice that the best thing is to leave right now, otherwise, he will have to kill them all. Knowing that the gang refuses to retreat, Carter devises a plan so that Cole can escape. His goal is to distract the bikers and lead them to the other side. When he hears the gunfire, he must run toward the exit. To disorient his pursuers, the veteran turns on all the rides in the park, making flashing lights, sirens, and blaring music fill the atmosphere, creating confusion and chaos. He moves precisely among the obstacles, shooting at the gang strategically to drive them away from Cole's hiding place. Hearing the gunshots, Cole rushes toward the exit, but Alonzo notices and chases him. With a punch, he knocks him down to the ground and checks his torso looking for a tattoo to identify him, only to discover that, like Taylor, he does not belong to any gang. Cole, gasping and short of breath, explains that he was forced, that they threatened to kill his family if he did not obey. Just then, Vincent appears with the rest of the gang. Cole recognizes him immediately. He is the same man who forced him to kill Rodrigo. Due to previous suspicions, Alonzo demands answers, but his partner insists that Cole is lying. With a trembling but firm voice, Cole recounts that he met him in San Quentin prison, that they were together in the block, and that everything he did was under direct threats. The tension is palpable in the air. The rest of the gang begins to look at him with distrust, disarming Vincent and demanding answers. Vincent, furious, shouts that Rodrigo was too weak, that he was making alliances with rival gangs and was destroying the Legion from within. That is why he had to kill him, for the good of the gang. Blinded by rage, Alonzo stabs him in the abdomen, shouting that he is a traitor. Vincent's brother stops him, but with a cold and menacing voice says that he will take care of it personally. Without mercy, he stabs him repeatedly, again and again, while reminding him that the Legion comes first. After being knocked unconscious by a bullet wound, the veteran returns to the battle and faces the gang again, who are surprised to see him alive. They thought they had eliminated him in the fight. Without hesitation, the bikers empty their magazines on the ambulance, but Carter counterattacks unexpectedly, detonates some gasoline drums near the gang, and with impressive aim, eliminates several enemies, allowing Cole to reach the ambulance. When Cole climbs into the vehicle, Carter accelerates sharply, and Vincent's brother manages to cling to the ambulance. Cole defends himself with what he can and uses the strap to immobilize his neck. Carter makes a sharp turn, causing the biker to break his neck with the strap. After moving forward a few meters, they are forced to stop near a construction site. Once inside, the veteran checks his phone, but there is no signal because the bikers destroyed the nearby antennas. At that moment, they see Alonzo arriving on his motorcycle. Both move cautiously to avoid being seen, but Cole makes a mistake and makes noise. The veteran, with no other choice, is forced to use ammunition to contain the biker. After the exchange, they move forward a few more meters until they reach an area with signal. Carter manages to report the situation and share his location with the authorities. Suddenly, Alonzo rams him by surprise. Jake yells at Cole to keep climbing while he faces the biker. Alonzo pulls out a knife to gain an advantage. The ex-sergeant defends himself with a crowbar, blocking several attacks, but due to accumulated exhaustion, the biker dominates him, knocks him down, and punches him repeatedly in the face, until knocking him out with a brutal kick. Without wasting time, Alonzo begins to chase Cole, shouting threats while cornering him. When he is about to throw him from above, Carter appears unexpectedly and surprises him, driving the edge of the crowbar into his leg. The blow cuts his femoral artery, causing the biker to fall to the ground in critical condition. Alonzo begs for his life, pointing out that he is a paramedic and must act no matter the circumstances. Against all odds, the veteran spares his life and stops the bleeding with his belt, taking advantage of the situation. The biker tries to surprise him with a knife, but Carter disarms him, strikes him, and finally throws him from above, causing his bloody death. Afterwards, both receive medical assistance and report the events to the authorities. The veteran approaches Cole and returns the photo of his family that he dropped when climbing into the ambulance. Due to what happened, Cole will be sent back to prison, but he tells him that he does not care. At least he will be able to see his daughter grow up. He thanks him for saving him, and Carter responds firmly, he should not thank him. That is his job.